Hello and welcome to Space Shark Teaches. I'm Sean, owner and lead developer of Space Shark Studios, and in this series we're going to be teaching Godot. In this lesson, I'm going to be teaching you how to make animated coins that you can collect and increase your score. So to start with, we should probably add a coin. So as before, add child node, find node 2D, and let's just make this the same as for floors. Let's make coins. And then under that, right click, add child, and let's make this one actually an area 2D. So an area 2D, just like the other kind of physics objects that you've made, like kinematic body and rigid body and static body. This just allows for the game to trigger something off or know when you've entered an area. So it works a little bit different than the other stuff in that it will just kind of float there. It won't interact with the rest of the world physics-wise, but it will know when other physics objects enter it. So let's go ahead and call this coin. And just like we've done before, we're going to right click, save branch as scene, and then put coin in with the rest of the scenes. Save that off, and then let's go on in there. As usual, we don't have a collision shape, so let's go ahead and add our collision shape 2D. Set that as a rectangle, so we've gotten that taken care of. And then let's go ahead and make another animated sprite. So this will be for our coins. As always, let's go ahead and draw that up real quick. So now, when we go back to our game, we can say, let's make, so in case you didn't see that, over in frames, right click, new sprite frames, and then click it to bring it up. And we can go into our sprites, drag them in. So we want first frame to be full, then second, and third to rotate to the side, and then pull that last one on there. And so if you watch, that will actually cause it to do a full spin. And then we can change the speed however much we want. That looks good by default though. However, now we need to make sure that all of our animations are the right size, as well as let's make sure that we import these correctly. So over in import, you can go to presets and select 2D pixel, and it will make everything a lot more clear instead of trying to smooth edges out. Great. All right, now let's go see what it looks like in game. That looks awesome. Let's go ahead and put that in a spot that it can be picked up. And then after that, we're going to go ahead and start actually making the code behind this. So as always, to make the code, we need to make sure to have coin clicked, and then press the new script button. Create a visual script. Make sure that the visual script is in the right scripts folder with everything else, and save. Create the new script, and now we're going to have some fun with a new feature called Signals. So you can see there's something called Signals over here on the left. We're actually going to be using our coins area 2D, and if you see over on the right, you can click on node and you can see all the different signals that are available to it. So what signals do are allow you to say, hey world, I did this. Now respond accordingly. So in this case, we have things like area entered and exited, area shape entered and exited, and body entered, body shape. So for example, body entered means that another rigid body, or a body of some sort, whether it is a static body, a rigid body, or a kinematic body like our player, if it enters this area, something happens. So we're going to be using that in order to tell if our player enters this area, specifically this collision box that we have around. So normally collision means when you hit it, you stop. In this case, collision means something entered this area, so send this one of these signals, or all of them if they're appropriate. So we are going to be using this body entered, and then we click connect. What that's going to do is say, what do you want to connect it to? So we want to connect it to coin, so leave that as it is. And then on coin body entered, that sounds fine. Make sure that make function is checked and connect. And as you can see, a new function was now created. So anytime a body of any sort enters this area, this will fire off. So just to give you something pretty fun to play with, there is a feature called print that is built in, and when it fires off, it will print down here in this output. So if we hook this up, Control S to save, and then you can see where this is placed. Let's go ahead and move our character down here to make things easier. If we press play, you'll be able to see that our player enters that area. You can see it gets close enough to enter the area, and then it gets printed. And that's how this print function works. So it's good for testing stuff like this to make sure that we have the type of object that we have coming in, make sure that functions are firing off correctly. So how do we make sure that we only fire off when the player is entered? So that's actually really hard because we can't, from the coin scene, we can't reference the player. So we can't check to make sure this body that enters is the player. That has to be done dynamically. What we can do, however, is use a feature called groups. So back in the main, I'm going to open up player's scene, click on player, and then over here under node you have signals, but you also have groups. So this allows you to get everything under the same group and check to see if it's in it, get all of them at once, anything like that. So we are going to say player is part of group player, and let's just go ahead and say coin is part of group coin as well, because we can use that later. Now we can actually drag this out, do call, because we need to call a specific function on this. And let's just leave this as is for now. So click on free. And so right now this is assuming that it is of type object. But that's not right. We actually want to go over and change base type to node. Once its type is node, we can change the function over here and type in group, and we can do a Boolean check now to see if this object that entered the area is in the group labeled player. So now all we have to do is check a condition if it's equal to player. So before we do that, I just want to show you what will happen otherwise if we just do straight into there. Let's move back and have our moving platform. Yep. Let's move this up here. And this actually needs to move. Let's do it over here. So you can see every time our moving platform goes through, it's firing off this command. If we only fire this off when whatever enters this area is a group player, that should not happen. So we're not having that happen anymore, are we? But oh, our player is not being added. So let's check and see why. And it should be working because you always have to remember and hook everything back up. So now that this is actually being called, let's see what happens. So I moved this back here for testing. So let's move that back over there. So it's still not being hit by the platform. But our player does hit it. Success. All right. That's it for this lesson. Thank you for watching, and this has been Sean with Space Shark Teaches.